Inspired by the life of the savvy and ambitious Colombian businesswoman Griselda Blanco comes a new Netflix original limited series. Griselda tells the story of a devoted mother who, with her lethal blend of charm and relentless savagery, creates one of the most powerful cartels in history. Witness Sofia Vergara's captivating transformation into the godmother of the underworld. Griselda, now streaming only on Netflix.
I'm Mo Rocca, and I'm excited to announce Season 4 of my podcast, Mobituaries. I've got a whole new bunch of stories to share with you about the most fascinating people and things who are no longer with us. From famous figures who died on the very same day, to the things I wish would die, like buffets. All that and much more. Listen to Mobituaries with Mo Rocca wherever you get your podcasts.
Bernigan. ABCs. Welcome to the Bare Naked ABCs, where we are discussing the Canadian Dream Team, Bare Naked Ladies, while we are living the American dream of having our own podcast to discuss the Bare Naked Ladies. And speaking of the American dream, I am happy to have with us tonight Michelle.
Hello.
Are you living the American dream, Michelle?
That's such a loaded question these days, Tracy. Oh, I don't even know if I dare to even open that can of worms.
Are you wrestling with that question?
That's a good way to put it. Yes, I'm wrestling with it.
Our friend of the podcast, Blake Riley, who will be joining us in a few weeks, would know that the wrestler known as the American Dream also was called Virgil Runnels Jr., but he went by another name, Dusty Rhodes.
Yes.
And speaking of Dusty, tonight we are going to be discussing Dusty Rooms, the song from 2017's album Fake Nudes, written by Kevin Hearn.
Yes.
There's a loud and leaking fan in a dirty, dusty room, and all of the rock and roll bands in their dirty, dusty rooms.
And there is a official YouTube of this, but there is another version of this out there, which was released, I believe, only online. I don't have it on my disc, of Patrick Hearn doing the spoken word of this.
Brilliant. Oh,
it is amazing.
Gee, it gives the song a whole other level. I feel like the spoken word version of this song is actually the true version. Like, it feels like this is what the song is about right here. It's such a different... It's so funny how the same thing can be so completely different, but it's amazing. It's so
good.
It's
so completely... It's two very different takes on the same piece of poetry that's been done.
Oh, I think more Bare Naked Ladies. Maybe that's what we can do once we get through all the podcast, all the songs of the Bare Naked Ladies, if we're all still alive. Maybe we could go through and do a spoken word version of each song.
We'll be here forever.
Yes. It'll ensure our immortality if we have a project that long. But it's so... If anybody has not listened to the spoken word version of the song, I insist that you must, because it is a work of genius.
Yes. And so, for those of you who don't know it, I will put it on our liner notes for this week, but it is done by Patrick Hearn, which is Kevin Hearn's father.
Yes.
And I'll also attach this for all of the songs in the future that we cover. I did not cover it for the ones that we've already gone over on this album because I didn't realize this existed until we got to this song. But it is there for all other songs on this album as well, and each of them are actually really significantly different than the song.
Oh man, I'm going to have to listen. I didn't realize there was one for every song on this album. I'm going to dive in head first for sure. Oh.
But why don't we continue on a little bit and talk about the song itself? We don't have Aaron this week, so we're going to have to do our own breakdown. We don't know the notes and the keys and all that wonderful stuff, but let's talk a little bit about the music of this song. Yes,
I would love to. My note on the music, I loved this. I loved the song. I thought it was great. But my first note that I wrote down was Kevin plus banjo equals Rainbow Connection. Like, it's just... I love this song, but when he's got that, and I know that the banjo comes in later, and I think at the beginning it's an acoustic picked guitar.
Right.
But it's beautiful, but it's definitely like I'm evoking the image of Kermit in the bog singing Rainbow Connection. But it's really good. And every time I listened to this song, I liked it more and more. Like, I liked it right away anyway, but I kept liking it even more each time I listened to it. And then I heard the spoken word version, and I was like, it's all over. I am loving this. So,
all in for that version.
All in. All in.
No, I agree with you. The first time I heard it, I was like, okay, this is okay. And then I listened to the song, as I tend to do, 10, 12 times, just to try to see, like, what little pieces of background, what little pieces of music am I not catching here, because I really want to break down the song to its entirety. But each time I listened to it, I liked it more. Like, my score was going up.
Yes.
Each time.
Me too. I kept writing a higher and higher number, for sure. Now, I'm sure at some point it will peter out and not do that, but I really do enjoy this song. Yeah, me too. And I loved the piano break in the middle. You know, instead of a bridge, it seemed like the piano break was there, and it was just this beautiful melody, and it just kind of carried the song. And then right after the piano break, when the vocals came in, they were just layered so tightly and beautifully and velvety. And I just said, this song just keeps getting better and better. And the other thing that I also loved was after they mentioned the butterflies in the lyrics, I don't remember the exact lyric, but you can hear in the background the keyboard, you know, the electronic keyboard in flute mode is sounding like a butterfly fluttering by. And I just thought that is such a Kevin detail.
A house full of butterflies, not a dirty, dusty room.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, it's so good. It's just, it's very well done. You can tell that this was thought out and put together precisely, and it was just gorgeous.
The song starts out with this beautiful acoustic guitar.
Yes.
And Ed is just playing it soft and gentle. And then it's interesting. So you go through it's not a verse, but you go through the first stanza of it, I guess you would say, not knowing the proper terms. And it comes back again to repeat it, but this time it adds in the high keys on the piano. And then the next time around, it adds in the low keys on the piano. And then they add in the drums with all of it. So it's like each time that they come through with it, as they're going along with the song, they're adding another bit of musicality.
Yes, you can really hear that too. And by the time they get to the piano break and then they're adding in the vocals in that beautifully, it's almost like the vocals are kind of showing what just happened in the song. You know, like everything is sort of, here's this bottom layer, and then it just keeps getting layered and layered. But the layers are really close together, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
It does.
Like they're really...
It's tight.
It's so tight. It's so good. It's really lovely.
Now, the only thing I couldn't pick up, maybe you could pick it up, or maybe it wasn't there, I couldn't hear the bass at all in this song.
You know, I don't know. Usually
And maybe it was
usually
maybe it was blended in with the drums and the low keys on the piano.
Maybe.
But I really couldn't pick it out. Like
the bass is usually something I listen for just because I was a bari sax player, so that's the part that I always hear. But I was kind of enraptured by the acoustic guitar, the banjo, the vocals, the piano, the butterfly. You know what I mean? I guess I was listening to the accent pieces and not really the underlying stuff. So I can't say that I noticed the bass, but maybe it was doing something else. You know what I mean? I don't know.
It could have been. Or it might have just... So the only thing I could definitely catch of Jim in there was, so there's that one phrase in there where he mentions Jim.
They mention
hello, Jim, how you been? Or something along those lines. And Jim goes, yeah. In the background, you have this little quick yeah in the background. And then like,
Hey there, Jim.
2 lines later, you hear him again say in the background, yep.
Down at the gym.
And it's just those nice little accent pieces that they throw in there that bring the song alive.
Exactly. It's all about, like the butterfly, it's all about the little accent pieces that just make this song. It's almost like a walk through a new spring day or something. Like, oh, the flowers are, but you know what I mean? It's got this very certain feel to it. And then you've got the spoken word that is the polar opposite.
Oh, it is.
But I feel like the spoken word actually speaks the truth of the song, which is so strange. I'm like, oh, that's what it's about. You know what I mean?
Oh, it's a very different it's a very different take on that same line. It's like listening to Shakespeare, but 2 different actors doing the lines of Shakespeare.
Yes.
Like the spoken word one comes across as very dark and almost angry.
Yes.
Versus this song, and even though it's beautiful and melodious, it is sad.
Yeah.
It's not just the softness of it. You get that this person is not happy in these dusty rooms. And it's not just the words, just listening to it. And as we talked about with Mill did a great job with pointing out, like, Kevin's songs are things to listen for and to kind of just feel.
Yes.
And that's what you get with this. And as I just sat there and listened to this song and ignored the words, but just let it pull me in, it had a melancholy feel of being in that place. But as the song went on, and as these layers were added in, it brought hope. And there was a little bit of rising as it went in. So it almost changed after the bridge, and as it entered into the butterfly houses, there was a change of feel there. And then when we listen to the lyrics, I'll come back to that piece later, but it matches up very programmatically with all the lyrics that are going on at the same moment.
Yes. One of the things I always like to do is just read the lyrics separately. Like, usually after I've listened to the song, I like to just read the lyrics without the music playing. And when I did that with this song, and I didn't get this with the actual song, I didn't get it with the spoken word, but when I read the lyrics, it felt to me, I thought, I wonder if this is Kevin writing about being in the hospital. Like these dusty rooms, and I wonder if that tied into that.
I hope not.
that melancholy sadness that you mentioned. Like, I wonder if, you wouldn't listen to the song and hear that that's what it's about, but just looking at the lyrics for some reason, it just made me think, I wonder if that's about him being in the hospital. Like, hi, Jim, how you doing? Like, Jim comes to visit him in the hospital.
That's interesting.
He's watching reruns on TV, and Mr. T, the A-Team happens to be on. I don't know. That's just my offshoot. I don't know that it's based in reality or not. It could probably not be, but it just, that's kind of what.
That's interesting, though.
Yeah, that's what kind of occurred to me. I don't know.
So, the song, Kevin, has come out and said that the song is about, and I couldn't find the specific interview, but Mill, when I was talking to them earlier this week, told me that they had actually seen another interview somewhere online, and they weren't able to point out the exact interview either. So we're both actually still looking for it. But that the song is actually about, in the past, during the road travel days.
Oh.
And then along with that, things that have happened along the tour. So, like, there was actually a time when he found a real tin with tarantula skin in it.
So this would actually go along with Who Needs Sleep. This is
probably, yeah.
This is Kevin's version of a tour song, like Ed's version of Who Needs Sleep is his.
Exactly.
Interesting. That's interesting.
And it makes sense. You have all these hotel rooms in these dusty places that aren't nice, but they're staying there for a reason with some hope, but it feels like it's never going to get better for a while. And
sleep standing up and don't touch anything.
Yeah, and it's, you get the hotels like with the lights that are flashing and, and all these little kind of lyrics in there that explain the room, like dial 9 to dial 9 for an outside line, dial 8 for a really weird time.
Yeah.
You got the hotel room with when he's turning on the TV to watch Mr. T. You have the window being locked and the bed being wrapped, and it really does. When you look at the lyrics online, it is a poem.
Definitely. Which lends it so well to the spoken word piece.
It does. It really does, because it is poetic in a lot of ways, all in and of itself. Normally, my problem with Kevin's stuff is that it doesn't paint a picture. It's very sparse. It's like I said another time, it's the Jackson Pollock of kind of art, of music art.
Yes.
Which it's meant to give you a feeling and an impression by looking at it, but it doesn't give you details. This gives you details, and I love it.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of story there, but there's a lot of detail.
It definitely is to Mill's point, when they said Kevin's songs kind of are a one moment in time, like this is definitely one specific moment in time in the hotel room, whatever. It's very like, boom, it's one dot, and it's the whole story of the one dot, but without giving you too much, but telling you the whole thing. It's interesting.
It's really kind of cool that I couldn't find out, like, I'm guessing the House Full of Butterflies was something that he actually came upon. But I couldn't, like, it's interesting because House Full of Butterflies, or House of Butterflies, is another term for a tree that's been covered in butterflies during their migration season. So maybe that's kind of what he was using that term. But go ahead.
I was going to say, which kind of goes along with the music that's in the song, with the... Because one time the first time I listened to it and I heard it and I pictured, I heard the butterfly and I thought, oh, that's nice. But then I listened to it again and was hearing about the dust, the tarantula skins and all of this. And I thought, oh God, are these butterflies, in frames? And I got a whole different picture, but I like the version that you're talking about with the butterflies on the tree, the House of Butterflies. That's nicer.
Now, the other thing that's important, Kevin likes to use a lot of metaphor.
Yep.
Butterflies are the symbol for personal growth.
Yep. Transformation.
Spiritual rebirth and transformation. And it's interesting because the spot in the song where he mentions the butterfly is the spot in the song where the whole thing changes. It becomes happier. It's the part in the song where they leave the hotel room following this. It sounds almost like they're on their way up and out. We're making it out alive. This is when they finally made. I get the feeling this is the spot in their career where they finally made it. We're making it out alive. It's checkout time. It's time to say goodbye to these dusty rooms. I get the feeling that they're done with the dusty rooms. They've made it in their career, and that butterfly comes just before that transformation.
Right.
And so I don't doubt that Kevin did that on purpose.
I think everything he does is definitely, it's not an accident. It's very specific.
Yeah.
For sure. And I wonder about the French lyrics too, the Allons-y, mes amis, which I love because when I was a kid, and my dad still actually says this, if we're going somewhere and he's trying to wrangle up my brother and sister and I, he'll be like, Allons-y, à la musique. Like, come on, let's go. We've got to go. It's time to go. And so hearing that always, like, whenever I hear that phrase, which is not often, I'm always sort of like, oh, time to go. So it's interesting when you say that they've made it because it's in French. And not that all of Canada speaks French, but it's sort of like they're leaving the French, they're moving on to a bigger scene from Canada to the rest of the world.
Right. And as far as I know, he came from that Toronto area, but maybe his family migrated down from the Quebecois area, and therefore, like, that was something that his family used to say or did.
Right.
And hearing Patrick Hearn when he does it, I could hear him speaking French. There is some kind of accent there that doesn't sound quite the same. So it's possible.
Yeah. But it just cracked me up to hear it. It was like, oh, the minute he said it, I was like, oh, I sat right up in my seat, ready to go. It's ingrained.
What brought me to find the spoken word version of this is at the very end, this ends like no other Bare Naked Ladies tune ever, with the spoken word of that last line being said again by Patrick Hearn, and the piano is just tinkling in the background. It is absolutely gorgeous. I don't know what inspired him to do it, but I love it.
It's so good.
Different. It wouldn't work with other songs. It works with this song.
Yes. And knowing that to me, and usually I'm more of a purist and, I want the song that I want. But this, I feel like you need the song as well as the spoken word piece to really appreciate the song. Like, I feel like it's that whole polarity thing, the two sides of the coin. You need both to really get the impact of the song.
I agree.
Yeah.
I almost wish they had done another, like the flip side of the album, so to speak, had been the spoken words of these songs.
Oh, that would be awesome. Could you imagine? That would be...
Because they have it on their website, but they don't... I've never seen it anywhere else before.
Interesting.
Well, why don't we do some ratings on this then?
Absolutely. So for ratings, Mr. T is in the song. So we're going to go for gold chains. It doesn't really have a lot to do with everything else, but it's just, if you reference Mr. T in a song, you're going to reference Mr. T, and we're going to stick with Mr. T throughout. So the rating is going to be, how many gold chains do we give this song? I started in my notes. I don't know if you can see my paper, but it starts at a 3.5 and then it goes up to 3.75 and it ends at a 4. So I just kept enjoying it more and more. So I was surprised, but I'm giving this song 4 gold chains.
Nice.
Yeah. Yep. And how many gold chains do you give this song, Tracy?
So like you, I started out lower. I started out with a 2.5. I thought this is an okay song. It wasn't going to be anywhere near like a great song for me. And prior to this podcast, I had never had it on my playlist. That will change, though, because each time it actually steadily went higher, and I'm giving this 3.75 gold chains.
Sweet. So we'll have to wait for Aaron. Is he going to give us his score? Yes.
At one point or another, we'll make him.
Okay. So as it stands, it's a 3.88. Which, if it was up to you and I, it's tied with Celebrity.
That's pretty far up there, but it makes sense. It's a different song than Celebrity, but it makes sense.
It's that same caliber, though, in my view. We'll see.
And maybe it was Mill did something there, but like I heard this song differently than I had expected to.
Yeah, I have to say, Mill worked some... I think Mill opened our minds a little bit and our eyes and our ears, because I definitely have more of an appreciation for Kevin, or I feel like we were given the tools to know how to listen to Kevin's songs to get a...
Yes, I can see that.
Appreciate the moment that Kevin is describing, rather than, oh, this isn't what Stephen Page would write, which is how I basically listen to everything that Stephen Page isn't in. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I feel like I've gotten a better appreciation for Kevin.
Well, and Stephen Page, listening to Stephen Page music, it's very much, it's heady. You're listening for the lyrics. It is pop and it is rock, but you're listening for the lyrics and for the funny, for the puns, and for the juxtaposition between the happy and the sad.
Yes.
And that play on stuff. The same thing with Ed. Like, you're listening for a lot of the play on words, the funny, the satirical.
Indeed.
That's not where Kevin comes from. And listening to it with a different ear, I can appreciate it differently. It is
absolutely.
Kevin even writes with Jim even writes with a very different take, in that he still plays with words and he's more jazzy.
I was going to say Jim is very avant-garde in my
yes
taste. You know what I mean? He's got his own thing, but it's Jim. But his play on words definitely fits the BNL, Ed and Steve kind of thing. Whereas Kevin does his own thing.
Yes. Kevin is going for the moment and the feel, and it makes sense with the way that he plays keyboards on the other songs. He is there to put you in that emotional moment and into that mood. And that's where his music does that. And if you listen to it for that reason, I think that I get a different take
Big
on
time.
him now.
Thank you, Mel.
So with that being said, my appearance for this week is going to be very brief. It's the spoken word version of this. Please, everyone, go out and listen to this.
Oh, must listen to it. I just blew out the speakers on my end. Sorry, folks, but you have to. I insist.
Michelle,
put down what you're doing.
Michelle,
right now. Yes.
I think your speakers right now would say, "Take it easy." Sorry, you just set me up for that one. I just, boom, right out of the park. That was easy.
I did. But seriously, folks, listen to the spoken word version of the song, because you must. It's a work of art.
It is. It is very... I have to say it this way, but I also know that people are going to take it negatively. It is the poetry that you go to the clubs and the clicking and the snapping.
Oh, yes.
But that makes it sound like it's a bad thing. But that's what this is it's a very different type of art, and it takes it in a different direction and makes you appreciate it in a completely different way.
Exactly. I can't wait to hear what Aaron has to say about the spoken word version, because I think he will totally dig it.
Oh, I think so. I'd be very surprised if he didn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
And with that, I'm going to let you guys go and take it easy, and hopefully come back next week to listen to us talk about Easy.
Yeah.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you, everyone.
I spend too much time in these dirty, dusty rooms.
To celebrate joining Pantheon Podcasts, Rock Camp, the podcast, the official podcast of Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp, is giving away a guitar signed by Mike Portnoy of Dream Theater, Marty Friedman, formerly of Megadeth, and legendary shredder Zakk Wylde, plus our rockstar counselors like Vinny Appice, Monty Pittman, and more. To enter to win, simply follow, rate, and review our podcast on your preferred platform, and that's all you have to do. For more information, go to rockcamp.com/podcast.